The day they laughed at him, no one noticed the quiet strength in his eyes. He stood there in worn boots, a faded shirt, and a hat that had clearly seen too many summers. People whispered, some chuckled, and others didn't even bother hiding their smirks. To them, he was just another poor farmer who didn't belong in a place filled with polished shoes and expensive suits. But what they didn't know would change everything. Before we begin, if stories like this touch your heart, make sure to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Welcome to Corner of Kind Choices, where every story reminds us that kindness still matters. It was a bright Saturday morning in a small American town known for its annual agricultural fair. People came from all over the state: families, business owners, investors, and curious visitors. There were booths lined with fresh produce, handmade goods, and banners advertising new farming technologies. In the middle of it all stood a large white tent where a major land auction was about to take place. This wasn't just any auction. The land up for sale was rumored to be the most fertile in the entire region. Everyone wanted it. Luxury cars pulled up one after another. Men in tailored suits stepped out, adjusting their ties. Women in elegant dresses walked confidently, holding clipboards and phones. Conversations buzzed with numbers, strategies, and quiet competition. And then, he arrived. An old pickup truck rolled into the dusty parking lot. It made a soft rattling sound as it stopped. The door creaked open, and out stepped a man in his late 50s. His jeans were slightly faded, his boots scuffed, and his shirt looked like it had been washed 100 times. This was Mr. Harris. He closed his truck door gently, looked around, and smiled faintly as if he was simply happy to be there. As he walked toward the tent, a group of young businessmen standing nearby exchanged glances. "Is he lost?" one of them whispered. Another smirked. "Maybe he's here to ask for directions." They laughed quietly, not even trying to hide it. Mr. Harris heard them. Of course he did. But instead of reacting, he simply nodded politely as he passed by. Inside the tent, the energy was intense. Bidders were taking their seats, flipping through documents, whispering final plans. Mr. Harris found an empty chair in the back row and sat down quietly. A woman sitting next to him glanced over and gave him a quick once-over. Her expression changed slightly, just enough to show her judgment. "You know this auction requires serious capital, right?" she said, her tone sharp but controlled. Mr. Harris smiled gently. "Yes, ma'am. I figured as much." She raised an eyebrow. "Just making sure you're in the right place." He nodded again. "I appreciate your concern." There was no sarcasm in his voice. No irritation. Just calm, genuine kindness. The auction began. The auctioneer spoke clearly, his voice filling the room as he described the land, its size, its history, its unmatched fertility. The starting price was high, and the bids rose quickly. 2 million. 2.5. 3 million. Hands went up confidently. Voices were firm. The competition was fierce. Mr. Harris sat quietly, listening. Occasionally, he glanced at the pictures of the land displayed on the screen. His eyes softened, as if he recognized something deeper than what was being shown. The bidding climbed higher. 5 million. 6 million. A man in the front row leaned back, smiling confidently as he placed another bid. He looked around as if daring someone to challenge him. From the back row, a quiet voice spoke. 7 million. The room fell silent. Heads turned. It was Mr. Harris. The same man they had laughed at. The auctioneer blinked, surprised. 7 million, do I hear 8? The confident man in the front frowned but raised his hand. 8 million. Without hesitation, Mr. Harris spoke again. 9 million. Now the room was buzzing. Who is this guy? Is he serious? Does he even have that kind of money? The whispers grew louder, but Mr. Harris remained calm. The bidding continued, but fewer people were willing to compete now. 10 million, the man in the front said, his voice slightly strained. Mr. Harris paused for a moment. He looked down at his hands, rough and worn from years of work. Then he looked up. 15 million. Gasps filled the room. The auctioneer nearly dropped his gavel. 15 million going once. The man in the front shook his head, defeated. Going twice. No one spoke. Sold. The gavel came down with a sharp sound. And just like that, the farmer in worn clothes had won the most valuable land in the region. The room was silent. People stared, confused and stunned. The woman sitting next to him looked completely different now. Her earlier confidence had faded into disbelief. I don't understand, she said softly. Mr. Harris stood up slowly. You don't have to, he replied gently. As he walked toward the front to complete the paperwork, the same group of young businessmen from outside stepped forward. Hey, one of them said, trying to sound casual. No offense, but, who are you? Mr. Harris stopped. He looked at them, not with anger, but with patience. I'm just a farmer, he said. They exchanged confused looks. That doesn't make sense, another said. You just spent $15 million. Mr. Harris smiled slightly. I've been farming for over 30 years, he said. Not just working the land, understanding it. He paused, then continued. I never cared about fancy clothes or big offices. I cared about growing things the right way. Over time, people started noticing. Restaurants, suppliers, even international buyers. The crowd slowly gathered around him, listening. I built partnerships. Invested wisely. But I never forgot where I came from. He looked down at his boots. These clothes? They remind me of the work that got me here. The room was completely quiet now. No laughter. No whispers. Just respect. The woman from earlier stepped forward. I'm sorry, she said sincerely. I judged you without knowing anything about you. Mr. Harris nodded kindly. We all do that sometimes. One of the young businessmen spoke again, this time with humility. Why didn't you say anything when you know? Mr. Harris smiled. Because kindness speaks louder than pride, he said. And I've learned that people reveal themselves over time. It's not my job to rush that. His words settled deeply into the room. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of leaving immediately, Mr. Harris turned back to the auctioneer. I have one request, he said. The auctioneer nodded quickly. Of course. Mr. Harris looked around at the crowd. This land. I plan to use it not just for profit, he said. I want to create opportunities. Jobs for local families. Training programs for young farmers who don't have resources. People leaned in closer. And, he added, a portion of the land will be used to grow food for communities that can't afford it. The room went completely still. This wasn't just a businessman. This was someone who understood the true value of what he had. Not money. But impact. The same people who had laughed at him now looked at him with admiration and maybe a little shame. As Mr. Harris finished signing the papers, he turned to leave. But before he stepped out, he paused and looked back one last time. Success isn't about what you wear, he said. It's about what you give. And then he walked out, the same way he came in. Quietly. Humbly. But now, everyone saw him differently. That day, the town didn't just witness a land auction. They witnessed a lesson. A reminder that kindness, humility, and hard work carry a kind of wealth that no amount of money can buy. Mr. Harris could have walked in wearing a suit, demanding respect. but instead, he walked in as himself and let his actions speak. And in doing so, he didn't just win land. He won hearts. So the next time you see someone in simple clothes, someone quiet, someone overlooked, remember this story. Because you never really know who someone is. And more importantly, you never know how much kindness they carry inside. If this story touched you, don't forget to share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still matters. This is Corner of Kind Choices, where even the smallest act of kindness can change everything.